Welcome to the sixth video in my series comparing my Triumph Bonneville 865, my Moto Guzzi V7 750, and my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. We will be looking in this video at why a budget Bonneville from 15 years ago outhandles its Bonneville siblings and maybe even some of its rivals too. So we'll be trying to answer the difference in Bonneville submodels so that you know what to look for if you're thinking about buying one, the science behind why those differences matter and make a difference on the road, and how my Bonneville handles in comparison to my Royal Enfield and to my Moto Guzzi. I'm Adrian from YouMotorcycle. I've owned about 4 Bonnevilles over almost 20 years of motorcycle riding, and now you can buy a used 2009 to 2015 fuel-injected Bonneville for cheaper than ever. But before you do that, you should know this. You have your variations like the Scrambler and the Thruxton, and then within the actual Bonneville name itself, you have your submodels like the Bonneville T100, the Bonneville New Church, the Bonneville SE, the Bonneville Black, aka base model, etc., etc., etc. So we know that all these motorcycles do a lot of things really well, but let's be honest, no motorcycle is perfect, not even a Bonneville. So which one do you get? The classic Bonneville most people think of in our heads has that 19-inch front tire with the big front spokes. But going back as far as the 1970s, Triumph has offered a mag wheel option with a 17-inch wheel too. Why is that? Motorcycle journalists for decades have told us that if you value performance over looks, that you should buy the 17-inch mag wheel option for the Bonneville, that those are the best ones, even though the 19-inch spoked wheels were more popular. One journalist even went so far as to say that the larger spoke wheels will, quote, ruin what is otherwise a great bike, removing both outright handling ability and feel by increasing unsprung weight and making steering geometry more conservative. We're gonna look at what that really means, if 17-inch wheels really are that much better than 19-inch wheels, and the physics behind why just a couple inches can make a really big deal on a motorcycle. You might be wondering, if I'm not some track superstar, am I really gonna feel the difference between a 17-inch mag wheel and 2 inches bigger, the 19-inch spoke wheel? And the answer is actually, yeah, absolutely you will. Because it's not just 2 inches, it's 3. See, each wheel has a tire on it, and the tires are different sizes. The tire for the spoked wheel gives a 26.1 inch diameter. The tire for the mag wheel gives a 23.1 inch diameter. Even a fairly inexperienced rider will be able to feel a 3-inch difference in their front tire. So the question becomes, how will this difference feel, and which one will feel best? The smaller diameter of the mag wheel Bonneville gives a quicker steering response. It's gonna feel like you're having less effort to turn, sharper control, and you're just gonna get a more agile, nimble, flickier feeling, more precise feeling in handling from the mag wheel Bonneville behind me versus your big old lacy spoked wheel Bonneville. The mag wheel's tire also gives a lower profile, which typically means better responsiveness and stability in corners. That lower profile also gives a larger contact patch when you're leaning your motorcycle over because it's not as sharp and pointy. That means that when your Bonneville is going through a corner, you'll have enhanced your grip as well as your handling. So already, just the tire and wheel size alone are making a huge difference in how the two bikes handle differently, but Triumph didn't leave it at that. They also engineered other differences into the mag wheel Bonneville itself. Time to talk about steering geometry. The rake angle of the mag wheel Bonneville is about 2 degrees less than the spoked wheel, and that means that the trail on the mag wheel Bonneville is a 1/4 inch less. And I know that was painful to listen to. Just forget I said any of that. Here's what it means. Better responsiveness on your motorcycle. It means you'll need less effort in turns, and it gives easier low speed handling, and at mediums to higher speeds, it gives more of a flickable feeling for the rider. And if you're waiting for the part where I compare to my Guzzi and my Enfield, it's coming. Just like 1 more minute on Bonneville versus Bonneville Violence, and then we'll talk about how it compares as part of my bigger series. Thanks. Okay, so if now you're thinking, well, if the smaller tire is better, why doesn't Triumph just make the front wheels smaller on all the Bonnevilles then, huh? And actually the answer is they did. They did exactly that. In 2016, they went from the 19-inch or the 17-inch, and they just went right in the middle. 18-inch, that's new standard across all the Bonnevilles. They wanted to give the kind of big spoke look of the 19-inch, but they wanted to give the better handling of the mag wheel, and that was sort of their compromise between the looks and the handling. the 18-inch spoke wheel. Okay, we're done with Bonneville versus Bonneville comparisons. Let's see how the mag wheel Bonneville compares to my Moto Guzzi V7 and to my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. So compared to the Interceptor, my mag wheel Bonneville has a 2-inch smaller diameter. That means that immediately the Bonneville does feel more flickable and more nimble. However, the Interceptor has rear suspension that isn't terrible. Some people hate it. I found the Interceptor suspension to be totally adequate, but the Bonneville suspension, on the other hand, is just awful. There's like one part of highway where the road gets kind of undulated, and at high speeds, it is scary on my Bonneville. The Interceptor handles it a lot better. So in terms of which one of those two motorcycles handles best, it really depends on what kind of surface you're riding on and how fast you're riding on it. Pause. All of my videos are aimed at helping motorcyclists, so if you want to help me out, hitting that like button lets YouTube know that other people might want to see my content, which lets me help more other riders. So yeah, please do that. Thank you so much. Now, if we compare instead to my Moto Guzzi V7, Moto Guzzi has done some smart things. They have a relatively small front tire, and the steering geometry, especially the trail, is actually very close to the mag wheel Bonneville, but there's an advantage for the Guzzi. See, the Guzzi weighs 60 pounds less and it has a lower center of gravity. Granted, I have not ridden the Guzzi in as much variety of different conditions and stuff as I have the other two bikes because I'm doing all this restoration on the V7. I have a whole video on that, I think 3 videos ago you can check out. But my first impressions, based on the riding I have done of the V7, is I think my V7 handles as well, if not possibly better, than my Triumph. We're gonna have to keep exploring that to find out for sure, but that's where I stand right now. The Bonneville's Achilles heel really has been its rear suspension. The good news is I have a maximum budget I can spend on each motorcycle in this series, and 2 episodes from now, I will be spending the last of my budget improving the Bonneville suspension, and we're gonna see if that improvement of its weakness is enough to make it win the series and be my best mid-size retro motorcycle for me, or maybe not. Hit subscribe to find out. Before I leave you, I just want to give you these final thoughts. Here's the full quote that I referenced at the start of the video. It's from rideapart.com. And just for context, when they talk about base model, they mean mag wheel. When they talk about SE, they mean mag wheel. And when they talk about T100, that's the one with spokes. Okay, here's the quote. Now, the SE model isn't the only bike in the Bonneville range, but along with the base model, it's the best. Why? The T100 swaps in a 19-inch spoked front wheel, tubes, flat seat, more conservative suspension geometry, more swept-back handlebars for $1,400 over the standard Bonneville. Worth it? Nope. Those mods effectively ruin what is otherwise a great bike, removing both outright handling ability and feel by increasing unsprung weight and making steering geometry more conservative. Save that cash and buy the base model. Now, personally, as a guy who's owned both mag wheel Bonnevilles and one spoke wheel Bonneville, would I go so far as saying that not having the mag wheel is gonna ruin what's otherwise a great bike? No, but it shows just how dramatic the difference is between the mag wheel Bonneville versus the spoke wheel Bonneville. There's so much more we could talk about this, like the mag wheels being tubeless makes them easy to patch on the side of the road if you're far from home, or laced wheels adding unsprung weight. I could go on and on. So what do you guys think? I know that in retro motorcycles, aesthetics is a strong part of it, and I know most people probably think that the spokes look a little bit better than the mags, but would you sacrifice looks by a little bit if it meant you would have much better handling? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. As always, I'm Adrian from YouMotorcycle. Thank you so much for watching. Ride safe, but have fun.